You think 1970s repast lunches were just beans and cornbread? Nope. These 10 old-school Appalachian lunch pail classics kept folks going when the day was long and the money was short. Number 1. Cornbread and Buttermilk. Cornbread and buttermilk were the kind of lunch that looked humble, but hit like a truck. The night before, someone baked a skillet of dense cornbread, stone-ground cornmeal, a little lard, maybe an egg if the hens were behaving. Come morning, they'd crumble big chunks into a wide-mouthed jar and pour cold buttermilk right over it. By lunchtime, that cornbread soaked up the tangy milk and turned into a thick, spoonable mash, half porridge, half comfort. And here's the real genius. Buttermilk's sour bite helped keep it safe even when the sun was blazing. Miners, field hands, factory guys, everybody knew this combo. It was cheap, filling, and straight-up dependable. Not fancy, just real. Number 2. Ham sandwiches on thick sliced bread. Before soft store-bought loaves took over, lunch meant bread you could lean on. These sandwiches started with homemade farm bread, sliced thick, almost an inch, so it wouldn't fall apart by noon. The ham was country ham, salt-cured and smoked until it was tough, ruby red, and packed with flavor. Just one thin slice was enough. By mid-morning, the bread soaked up that salty goodness, seasoning every bite without a single condiment. Some folks smeared a little lard on the bread for moisture, others went dry and proud. This sandwich didn't look fancy, but it did the job. Carbs for energy, protein for muscle, and enough salt to replace what sweat stole during a long, brutal workday. Number 3. Cold biscuits with sorghum. Cold biscuits with sorghum were straight-up working man fuel. No reheating, no fuss. These weren't fluffy diner biscuits either. These were dense, lard-heavy biscuits built to last. By morning, they were cold and firm, which was exactly how folks wanted them. You'd split one open with your hands and drizzle thick, dark sorghum molasses right over the top. That syrup soaked in slowly, leaving sweet pockets all through the biscuit. Sorghum wasn't just cheaper than sugar, it had a deep, earthy bite, with a mineral kick that hit different. Timber workers and factory guys ate these standing up, syrup dripping on their boots, getting a quick sugar rush and long burn energy before grinding through another hard shift. Cheap, sticky, and powerful, this lunch meant business. Number 4. Leather britches, dried green beans. Leather britches weren't pants. They were proof you planned ahead. These were green beans strung up on thread and dried until they looked like old strips of leather hanging from rafters all winter long. Come lunchtime, a handful went straight into the pail. No fridge, no worries. Some folks chewed them dry, working their jaw like a machine. Others poured a little hot water over them from a thermos to soften them up. Either way, the flavor was intense, earthy, concentrated, sometimes a little smoky from hanging near the stove. They weren't pretty, but they delivered fiber, minerals, and the kind of staying power fresh vegetables couldn't. To a working man, leather britches tasted like summer saved for a hard day. Number 5. Salmon Patties. Salmon patties were straight-up proof that canned food could feel like a win. Back in the 1970s, a can of pink salmon was about as fancy as lunch pail protein got, and nobody wasted a single thing. Bones, skin, all of it got mashed up with stale breadcrumbs or leftover cornbread, maybe an egg if there was one, and a little chopped onion. Then those patties hit a hot skillet full of bacon grease and fried until crispy and golden. By morning, they were cold, firm, and perfect for packing. No falling apart, no spoiling, just solid fuel. You ate them with your hands, biting through that crunchy outside into the soft, fishy center. It wasn't gourmet, but it felt rich, and it kept you full till quitting time. Number 6. Pickled eggs and cornbread. Pickled eggs and cornbread were a lunch that packed a punch without costing much. When chickens were laying heavy, eggs got hard-boiled and dropped into jars of vinegar brine, sometimes plain, sometimes spiked with hot peppers or beet juice. After a few days, those eggs turned firm, sour, and salty, the kind that made your jaw tighten on the first bite. Lunch meant grabbing 2 or 3 of those pickled eggs and a thick chunk of cold cornbread. The sharp vinegar cut straight through the dense cornmeal, making the whole combo sit easily in a hard-working stomach. It was protein, carbs, and grit all in one go. Guys ate it slow, alternating bites, washing it down with creek water or weak coffee, and then got right back to work. Number 7. Bean sandwiches. Bean sandwiches were what you ate when meat wasn't happening, and nobody apologized for it. Leftover pinto beans from the night before got mashed just enough to spread, still chunky and earthy. That thick bean paste went straight between 2 slabs of sturdy bread, the kind that could take a beating in a lunch pail without turning to mush. Some folks stirred in a spoon of bacon grease for flavor, others added a slice of raw onion for bite, but plenty kept it plain. Beans brought the protein, bread brought the bulk, and together they stuck to your ribs for hours. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest fuel. To a worker staring down a long shift, this sandwich meant one thing: you weren't going hungry. Number 8. Killed lettuce salad. Killed lettuce salad was fresh food with an attitude. When spring lettuce finally popped up after a long winter, nobody wasted it. Fresh leaves were torn into a bowl, then hot bacon grease, still sizzling, was poured right on top. The lettuce wilted instantly, hence the name Killed. A splash of vinegar followed, and the crispy bacon crumbles went back in for good measure. By lunchtime, it had cooled down, but was still slick, tangy, and smoky. The vinegar helped keep it safe in the pail, and the bacon grease coated everything so it didn't dry out. It wasn't health food by today's standards, but it got fresh greens into hard-working bodies when vitamins actually mattered. Messy, bold, and straight-up Appalachian smart cooking. Number 9. Fried green tomato sandwich. The fried green tomato sandwich was late summer ingenuity slapped between 2 slices of bread. When frost was coming and tomatoes weren't going to ripen in time, folks sliced those hard green tomatoes thick, dredged them in cornmeal, and fried them in hot bacon grease until golden and crispy. Come morning, those crunchy slices went straight onto soft white bread with a smear of mayonnaise. Nothing fancy, nothing extra. By lunchtime, the sandwich was still holding strong. You bit through that crunchy crust into the tangy, firm tomato with the mayo smoothing it all out. It was sharp, rich, and oddly satisfying. This wasn't just a sandwich. It was proof that nothing went to waste and a garden could still feed you right down to the wire. Number 10. Salt pork sandwiches. Salt pork sandwiches were the true definition of make it work in tough times. Before refrigeration, families had to get creative with preserving food, and salt pork was the answer. They'd take thick slices of this salt-cured pork, rinse off some of the surface salt, and slap it between 2 slices of homemade bread. No fancy condiments or toppings, just bread and salty, fatty pork. As the sandwich sat in the lunch pail, that salt would soak into the bread, seasoning every bite, making it flavorful in a way that only a hard-working meal could be. It wasn't about being gourmet. It was about energy and survival. For miners, loggers, and farmers, this sandwich was a meal that helped replace the sweat lost from long shifts. Sure, it was salty, but it did its job, keeping folks going in a world where every bite counted. Simple, but crucial. These lunches weren't fancy, but they got folks through long days when quitting time felt a mile away. If this brought back memories, hit like, subscribe, and stick around, because the past still knows how to feed us right.